December 2016. I'm sitting at my computer scrolling through Facebook when an ad catches my eye. It's a video of a man in a suit and top hat rapping over a goofy sounding electro swing beat framed by the words, "Even people who hate rap are loving this guy." This wasn't the first time I got a Facebook ad advertising tacky rap music, but something about this one in particular was pretty funny, so it quickly spread around my circle in weird Facebook. But little did I know, this wasn't just another throwaway meme. No, this was the beginning of a truly captivating story, full of ups, downs, conflict, betrayal, shocking revelations, and lots of debt. This saga would go on to consume mine and many others' online lives for the following 5 years. This is the story of Unkle Adams.
Let's show 'em how we do this. Let's start the show. I don't wanna be how everybody else is. I'd much rather be original.
While Unkle Adams became popular in 2016, that wasn't the start of his rap career. That happened to coincide with another famous internet saga, the death of Amanda Todd. Amanda Todd was a Canadian teenager who took her own life after being blackmailed into making explicit videos for a Dutch man named Aiden Coben in 2012, who was later sentenced to 13 years in prison. Amanda Todd's death was a huge news story, and it brought about a lot of new discussions surrounding cyberbullying and the dangers kids face when using the internet. Curtis Adams, the protagonist of her story, was living in his hometown of Regina in Saskatchewan, Canada, working as a municipal contractor, and the story of Amanda Todd touched him deep, so much so that he decided to write a motivational rap song about the dangers of bullying. Over the next year, he worked hard to write, record, and even film a music video for his anti-bullying vision, and it ended up being a success. He garnered hundreds of thousands of views, and it sparked a career change for Curtis. He quit his job working for the city and became a full-time motivational rapper. He would visit schools and give presentations about the unforeseen dangers of bullying. You see, at the time, this whole motivational rapper giving school presentations was a bit of a trend in Canada for some reason, and Curtis, now known as Unkle Adams, rode that wave. He gave talks to schools both locally and internationally. He had carved out an unusual but profitable niche in the music business for himself to thrive. But his success wouldn't last for long. Just under a year later in 2014, Unkle Adams would have a disagreement with a local school board that would leave him blacklisted as a school presenter. Mike Walter, the director of the Regina Public School Board, asked Unkle Adams to edit his song I Am Stronger to remove the line, "She went to sleep permanently, she drank bleach."
She went to sleep permanently. She drank bleach.
But as you can guess, Unkle Adams was not eager to censor his artistic vision, so he refused, and as a result, Mike Walter made some calls and Unkle Adams stopped getting new gigs. With the opportunity to speak at schools now out of his grasp, Unkle Adams would spend the next 2 years heads down creating motivational rap songs with messages revolving around such topics as climate change, respecting the troops, working out, and drunk driving. Although most of these videos failed to reach the heights he had previously hit with his breakout song, that would all change after the release of the song Original. Original didn't garner a ton of attention right away, but the ad he created for it on Facebook unintentionally grew a small fanbase of people who found his music bad. This isn't the first time in history this has happened. There have been many musicians in the last 50 years who've cultivated careers almost exclusively supported by fans who dislike their music. In late 2016, when the Unkle Adams ad was being passed around Facebook, a group called Unkle Adams Original Posting was created. At the time of its creation, Original Posting was just there to make memes about this out-of-touch ad and the bad rap music that accompanied it. But over the next few years, Original Posting would slowly become the central hub on the internet for all things Unkle Adams. Things were quiet for a while. Unkle Adams uploaded more of his usual content like new songs and also some motivational videos.
It's time to become a lion. You think a lion cares when the birds are chirping?
Some of these videos actually got a lot of views. You can even argue some of them went viral. His one on quitting smoking hit a staggering 2.7 million views, so it is understandable why he kept making this sort of content. Things would remain quiet for pretty much all of 2017. The meme was getting kinda old. But this was just a calm before the storm, because in early 2018, Unkle Adams would upload the very first episode of his vlog series, the At Least a Million Mission, or ALAM for short, providing us a closer look into his life and the truly crazy situation he had got himself into. At the beginning of the At Least a Million mission, Unkle Adams explains that the last few years of funding his rap career has left him $164,000 in debt, and that he's been forced to take some rather drastic measures to keep it all going.
By the way, I've already sold my house.
for this, okay? I bet a lot of people watching this are like, wow, this guy, I can't believe this guy, you know. But I did. I sold my house and I used the equity to put into the music career. So that's already been done. That option is off of the table. So I'm sitting here thinking, okay, I don't have money really to keep going, but I want to keep going and I will keep going. So what do? Well, I'm gonna sell my car now. It's a testing period, it's an adversity phase, and I'm on a mission. I'm on a mission to make at least $1 million to start. And that's why I want to document what I'm doing here.
Unkle Adams is on the at least $1 million mission. His goal, to make at least $1 million from rapping. His plan to obtain that money? Before we move on to episode 2 of The Lamb, I want to talk a bit about just how hard it is to make money as a musician. Before I was a YouTuber, I tried for about 10 years to launch a career in music with my band. While we did sometimes make decent money by playing shows, it was mostly just a money pit. Whether we were paying for gear, studio time, travel expenses, it was almost impossible to turn a profit with the small amount of fans we had. I do know some people in the local music scene that made good money by playing in cover bands, but developing a career just by doing original music is a huge investment of both money and time, and it's more than likely you won't succeed. So the idea of making original music just to make $1 million is crazy. We'll touch a little more on this later in the video, but for now, let's check out some more of the At Least $1 Million mission. In the next episode of the At Least $1 Million mission, Unkle Adams tells us that he still has a few $100 left in his bank account, which is just enough to buy a day at a recording studio, and he walks us through a typical Unkle Adams recording session.
Okay, Jared's setting up stuff that I don't know much about, and then we're gonna track. Sounds good. Levels are good. Vibes are good. Feeling good. It's all good. Here we go again. I'm really going in. I'm a cannonball knocking down bowling pins. I bring the facts to you quicker than a soda fizz. From an 88-story drop overhead, I'm here to get up, get out, and off the couch. Look around next time you're outside. You'll find good folks trying to get by. Nice people everywhere, and there's a lot of good things going on.
I probably don't have to tell you, but paying for studio time when you're almost $200,000 in debt isn't really a good idea. And it's even more ridiculous when you consider the fact that Unkle Adams is a rapper. He's paying for that studio time to record just his voice. I get that having a well-produced and well-recorded track is important, but it's so easy and inexpensive to record vocals. And we even know that Unkle Adams had the equipment to record vocals at home when he instead chose to go to the studio. Alright, so when is it actually worth it to go to a studio? Well, if you're recording drums, going to a professional studio might make your life a lot easier depending on your situation. Recording drums is really hard to get right, and it can also be very expensive. You need a lot of equipment. And I know a lot of people in the local music scene who do most of the recording for their music on their own, but for the drums, they go to studio to do it just because it makes sense financially. But if you're recording vocals, it really is just as simple as singing into a microphone. You don't even need an audio interface. You can just use a USB microphone. They make great sounding USB microphones nowadays. Obviously, the $4,000 Neumann U87 that Unk is singing into in Jared's studio is gonna sound a lot better than a USB microphone, but you'd be surprised just how far you can get with a cheap microphone. This microphone is a Shure SM57. It costs about $100 and is primarily marketed as an instrument microphone. I use it to mic my snare drum and also my guitar amp. But some people like to use it as a vocal mic. The vocals on the song Californication by the Red Hot Chili Peppers were recorded with this microphone. It's also been used to record vocals on songs by U2, Bjork, Peter Gabriel, Tom Petty, Madonna, John Lennon, and it's been used to record every official US presidential speech since Richard Nixon. If it's good enough for Tricky Dick, I think it's good enough for Unkle Adams. Speaking of Unkle Adams, a few days after recording at the studio, Unkle Adams tells us that he doesn't have the money he needs to cover the costs of his upcoming music video, and he shows us one of the methods he uses to make quick cash.
I remembered that I have two more credit cards. So I can't actually withdraw money, but there's still some hope because we can buy some goods from these stores, sell them, convert it to money, and keep going after this dream. I'm going to show you what we got, but before I do that, I want to be very clear. I don't want my fans and kids watching this thinking, oh, Unkle Adams is maxing out his credit cards, you know, like it's the cool thing to do, and I don't want to see you go do that, max out a bunch of cards just for doing it, for the sake of doing it. Remember, I am doing this to accomplish a dream. I have a bigger plan. I'm not doing this to buy booze for the the weekend or to go clubbing and stuff like that, okay? This is part of me building an empire, funding a dream, right? So with that said, here's the stuff we're doing. We got some Sawzalls, a couple of power drills, a couple of 23-inch computer monitors from Best Buy, and a couple of pill speakers. We are going to sell this stuff, get some money, and produce the At Least a Million music video this weekend, because like I say, I got $30 in my account, but we got lots of stuff we can sell here, which is good. Again, this was all, purchased on credit cards, so it's totally legitimate.
You know, based on that little disclaimer Unk gave in this video, he assumes that kid fans who probably look up to him are watching this. And he not only thought it was okay to show them a really awful and risky way to make quick money, but he also said it's okay to do, as long as it's funding something important, like the production of a rap video. In the next episode of A Lamb, Unkle Adams walks us through the production of a typical Unkle Adams music video.
Chest out.
Okay.
Are you filming this on? Mm-hmm. Okay, action?
Yeah.
This is what we do, man. All these throws for one frickin' thing, and you'll see in the video that it looks sweet, though. Are they ducks?
Yeah.
Here, ducky, ducky, duckies.
The next few episodes of A Lamb walk us through a relatively tense time where Unk is trying and failing to find ways to cover the production costs for his music video. That is until he finally sells his car.
What's up, guys? One sec. Sold the car. No, they drove me home. Okay, see you soon. Bye.
Alright, let's take a second to talk about music videos. Music videos are obviously an important part of promoting music, and as an artist, it gives you an opportunity to express yourself visually, which can go a long way to help you connect with your fans. But if you don't have any money, you don't need to pay someone to make a music video for you, even if you don't have any equipment. There have been so many famous artists who have made great music videos with just camcorders or cell phones. When my band wanted to make some music videos back in 2016, we just took my parents' old camcorder and then we filmed ourselves goofing around Chinatown in Toronto. It didn't look like an expensive production, but it definitely matched the tone of the songs, and at the end of the day, that's all that matters. Okay, one more thing before we get back to Unk. The music video producer that Unkle Adams hired was Merlando, or Merlin Sinclair, a childhood friend of Unkle Adams who eventually found his way into the original Posting Facebook group. Just an important tidbit to mention. Okay, the next episode of A Lamb is drastically more negative in tone than the others. At this point, Unkle Adams has discovered the original Posting group on Facebook. Let's see how he reacts to it.
So first things first, as you've noticed, you can't comment on my YouTube anymore, you can't comment on my Instagram, my Twitter profile is private, I've changed my emails, and I want to tell you why, okay? So for over a year, there has been a group of trolls trolling all of my accounts, pretending to be fans, but really they have sinister intent. Over a year ago, when I was promoting my original music video on Facebook, it had a caption saying, "Even people who hate rap are loving this guy," okay? And the reason it said that is because I get that all the time. People are always like, "Oh, I don't even like rap, but I like your music," So that means that I'm different. I'm a change maker, and I'm bringing people into the genre that don't even usually like it. But these trolls thought that the irony in that line was ridiculous, and it was just too funny, and their whole group plays off of things being ironic about me. Like, I said that people who hate rap, but they like me. So they pretend to be fans, but they're really enemies. They would go to my store and comment on my hoodie, "Oh, this is so hot that it keeps me cold." So they're just all about ironic things, and they think it's hilarious to do this, okay? But it's gone way too far.
I want to take a second to talk about Tommy Wiseau. If you haven't heard of him, Tommy Wiseau is a Polish man living in the USA who was hell-bent on making his own movie. He didn't get any kind of financial support from any studio, so he instead decided to just do it himself. He spent an insane amount of money putting together a movie called The Room. Now when the room premiered, Tommy didn't exactly get the reaction he was expecting. He had made an emotional and dark drama about a character who was driven to take his own life after a failed relationship, but the audience thought it was a comedy. By all counts, The Room as a drama sucks. The acting is horrible, the writing is ridiculous, and many of the production decisions don't make any sense. And yet, it's one of the funniest comedies ever made. Now when Tommy Wiseau saw everyone laughing at his movie, do you think he got angry and tried to hide it from the world? Well, he did get a little angry, but he also embraced the audience's perception of his movie. Over time, he built up a huge cult following. He began touring the world to personally premiere his disaster piece to crazed fans. Tommy Wiseau spent $6 million to make The Room, but over time, he actually ended up making $30 million from it, a profit of $24 million. At this point in time, Unkle Adams had a decision to make. He could adapt and switch gears to embrace these new fans who were following his music, just not for the reasons he intended. Instead though, he decided to shun these tens of thousands of followers in favor of, I don't know, I guess the kids he was presenting to 5 years prior.
It didn't end there though, too. These people went back on my Twitter, back to like 7 years ago, to try to find any dirt they could on me. And there was a couple of stupid tweets that I tweeted. I don't know if I was drinking or what. So this group that pretends to be fans, but are actually trolls, got this YouTuber to review one of my videos. They kept messaging him, review Unkle Adams, review Unkle Adams. Okay, now this guy's name is Anthony something, okay? The Needle Drop. I call him the Needle and my other friend watched his video too. He's like, who's this Needle guy? So everybody apparently just calls him the Needle because he just changed a few letters in his name. Plus it seems like he has a small because he just sits there behind a screen dissing everybody all the time.
There was something that happened in 2017 that I haven't mentioned. Unkle Adams was noticed by Anthony Fantano, the biggest music critic on YouTube, and Anthony made a video with Chris Raygun reacting to and laughing at the original music video.
First off, I'm thankful for everyone that follows me and everyone that doubted me can swallow their apology.
We have this glass barrier between us and the artist, which to me, we're on one side of the glass barrier, reality, and on the other side of the glass barrier we have the artist enclosed sort of in this little bubble of his where he can sort of braggadociously deliver all these rap lines where he sort of builds himself up, even though us on the outside of that barrier, we just see it as ridiculous. Meanwhile, I think those RCA cables back there, which should clearly be plugged into something because they are coming from the turntable, I assume, symbolize the fact that he's unplugged from that real world that the rest of us live in.
Unc was pretty upset here, but after Anthony reached out, they were able to squash the beef pretty quickly, and they even did a video together on Anthony's channel.
But there were some of those trolls that were taking things way too far, like getting a hold of my personal address, posting maps to my house online. They got a hold of my cell phone number, prank calling my phone, sending me threatening messages like you can't hide and we're going to get you. Pretending to be fans that are cutting their wrists, and then I would respond trying to help them, but really it's someone with a sinister intention.
There's something else that we have to talk about from episode 10. Unc mentioned some tweets from the past that people were sharing around. What exactly is he talking about? Well, my friends, this motivational rapper wasn't always so motivational. Fairly soon after the original music video gained popularity, people stumbled onto Unkle Adams' Twitter history, and it was surprising. This wholesome positive role model was saying some uncharacteristically vulgar things. Some of these tweets were even made mere months before the I Am Stronger music video was released. All of this piqued a collective curiosity into Unkle Adams' past. After all, he was 26 when he made I Am Stronger. What was he doing in the years prior? In June 2017, a man claiming to be a former producer of Unkle Adams joined the original posting group. He posted a bunch of song snippets without much explanation as to what they were, but these went more or less unnoticed until a year later. Little did the group know that these were rap songs Unkle Adams had made in the late 2000s before cleaning up his act. In 2018, one of these songs in particular would become infamous, Booze Tune. Let's listen to Booze Tune.
Oh, I'm fucking hungover, man. Me and Spite went on a raw bender last night. Oh, booze track, who's that? Uncle. Beats by Merlando. Shot a Mo, shot a Chris, shot a Jaeger. Slap.
Okay, I don't think I can actually play any more of that on YouTube without getting demonetized because it's really vulgar. I'm just going to describe what Unc raps about next. He talks about illicit substances, a dirty mattress, and a non-consensual sex act. Boostoon led the Unkle Adams group to search for more material made by Unk's past persona, which was officially labeled Dark Unk. A man named Andrew Hanks, owner of the 306 skate shop in Regina, was added to the original posting group. Andrew apparently knew Unkle Adams during his former rap career, and he said he could get his hands on an entire album's worth of Dark Unk. His search would eventually culminate in the release of North of Dooney, a lost Unkle Adams album from 2007, along with the music video for the song Northside Queen City. Let's take a listen.
Northside Queen City, motherfucker, we both. Half of us are nuts, the other half are out of control. Raw records, y'all know who makes you move. And fuck all you haters, cause we hate you too. Northside Queen City, motherfucker, we both. Half of us are nuts, the other half are out of control. Raw records, y'all know.
This is actually pretty good. I find it really nostalgic. It really fits in with that J-rock wave of Canadian rap from the mid-2000s that was mostly made by local suburban white guys. It's sort of sad to see the decline in quality in Unk's music, along with his general change in attitude. Northside Queen City follows everything I've said in this video. It was clearly recorded in someone's house, and the music video is just Unk and his friends goofing around Regina with a camera. But I think it might be my favorite Unk music video. Some other notable moments from North of Dooney include, well, I can't even say the title of this one on YouTube, but it's a diss track against another local rapper where he makes fun of their financial situation and the fact that they're depressed. Truly a bizarro Unkle Adams. Everything from the Dark Unk era is surprisingly crass, and it hits even harder when you consider the type of career Unkle Adams would go on to lead in the future as a children's motivational speaker. And I think in the only black and white episode of A Lamb, we can see a little bit of Dark Unk seep out. In the next video, Unkle Adams apologizes publicly to Anthony Fantano and explains that he's been being harassed by members of the original posting group, some even going as far as to send death threats to him and his girlfriend. After he made the last episode, he realized it wasn't Anthony's fault and he had overreacted. He also tells us in the video that most of his debt is from people he had paid to take his career further and didn't deliver on it, and that young musicians should learn from his mistakes. Alright, we're going to gloss over a lot of the stuff that follows this video, mostly because a lot of the Alam episodes that come after this one just aren't that interesting. Unless you want to watch 11 minutes of this.
Love for your music from Belgium. Next comment. Refreshing to see healthy messages that appeal to young minds. Stay persistent, and all y'all watch and share these videos. Next comment. Unkle Adams, you're such an amazing person. You've helped me through so much with all of your songs. Thank you for all of your music. Next comment.
After making up with Fantano, Unkle Adams would release the song Friends Over Enemies, and personally, I think this is one of the best tracks Unkle Adams has ever made. It's still white guy conscious rap, but it's not bad, and the video is pretty cool too. Anthony Fantano seemed to like it as well. I think the difference with Friends Over Enemies is that it comes from a genuine place. It's not some preachy song about not drinking while driving or protecting the environment. It's about something Unk is actually going through in his feelings. And because of that, his lyrical ability, which he does possess, gets a bit of space to shine. The next few months would be relatively quiet. Unk would release a couple new songs, one of them being a sequel to Original, along with some vinyl editions of these singles, and he would even travel all the way to Nunavut in Canada's far north to give one final school presentation. In episode 24, Unkle Adams tells us that he was forced to go back to work because of how desperate his financial situation had become, and he didn't exactly have a very good experience with the first job he tried.
We get there, and my first impression is the crew lead, the crew chief, the foreman, whatever you want to call him, he's freaking out on everybody. Like, he's freaking out on this one guy. Oh, what the like, he's just snapping out like that, eh? And I'm like, oh my god.
After learning that he would be expected to work 12-hour days without a lunch break, Unk decided to pass up on coming back to this job, which is pretty understandable. I don't even think that's legal to work like that. The week after, he started a different job that he left after only one day, and for a much less understandable reason.
I was working, I started with another company, and the guy has me jump in a Bobcat. I get the machine started, I'm operating a bit, you know, we're digging, we're excavating. And then I'd say probably about an hour in, this guy comes running up with his arms flailing. Hey, the door is open, he's saying. Well, here we look in the back, and the back door of the Bobcat somehow opened. Either I forgot to latch it, or I bumped into the wall and it opened, and I made turns and stuff, and I bent the door, and the door wouldn't close. So then they got us hauling pipe and rebar and all this stuff that, no offense, but I don't want to do that, man. I've traveled places where they line up to for me to autograph for them and stuff, and like just to go do that kind of work and to just be a nobody to somebody. It's just, I don't like that kind of thinking, that kind of living, that kind of paradigm. I feel like I'm worth more than that, and it's just like, okay, I've had enough. I hop in my vehicle and I leave. So those were my...
I don't have to tell you guys that this is a really horrible attitude to have. Unc basically broke the door of a bobcat on his first day and then immediately walked off the job because he's too good for blue-collar work. In this general time period of the Unkle Adams saga, the biggest development was that he slowly began to embrace his newfound ironic internet fan base. He began live streaming to directly connect with his fans, and he even went as far as to make a slightly awkward video where he reviews memes of himself.
Next meme, alright, it's a guy driving a Bentley, and he's looking back at his girlfriend, which I don't know why she would be in the back seat. She'd be in the passenger seat. She wouldn't be riding in the back. Well, does he have his girlfriend in the back seat and his friend in the front seat? That's not a good move with the girls, man. You gotta get the girl up front. Okay, so it says, when she don't want to listen to Original by Unkle Adams on repeat for the entire car ride. I like that one.
Things wouldn't stay quiet for too long, however. You see, about a year prior in 2018, Unkle Adams decided to auction off the top hat from the original music video, telling us all that it was in fact a wise investment.
I'm putting this hat and certificate on my website for a buy it now price of $10,000. And I know that some of you are going to be like, what, $10,000 for that? Like, are you crazy? But hear me out on this, okay? There will never be another one of these. This is the only hat in the world that I wore during that video and that I signed myself. There is no number 2, 3, 4. This is the only one in the world. So I think that serious collectors that see my future being bright will seriously consider buying this, because you think $10,000 is a lot right now. Just wait until I blow up. This thing's going to be worth a lot more.
In the end though, he decided to give away the hat for free to a random fan instead, and the random fan that ended up winning the hat was none other than Mormon rapper Colby Ferrin. If you're not familiar with Colby Ferrin, he was another corny white rapper that people were clowning on back in 2017, mostly for his song Middle Class Gangster.
Look, you don't know me, so please let me explain me. I'm not your average homie with a goatee and stained jeans, boasting how we hit the bottom before he made green. Went broke, smoked weed, dropped out at 18. Middle class gangster from the first world, king of the thugs from the suburbs. Yeah, I've got a 3.9.
The idea that Colby Ferrin just happened to win the hat at random seemed really suspicious, but surprisingly, he joined the original posting group on Facebook and explained that he was in fact a genuine fan of Unkle Adams, and he did enter the contest to win the hat. Colby told everyone that he was planning to make a remix of Original after he got the hat. This is what he came up with.
Dear Unkle Adams, I need you and your pop balloon to get down off the roof so I can talk to you. After watching a lot, I think I've got your view. You say you share the truth, that's what you gotta do. And then despite that, you see there's people fighting you. You say they're probably full of hate, cause they fight the truth. But their biggest problem isn't that you rock a suit. The problem is that your message has an ironic tune.
While everyone started off hating Colby, this video really changed their minds quick. It was a great remix, and Colby turned out to be a pretty likable guy. Over time, he slowly became the spokesperson for the original posting group, trying to push it in a more positive, constructive direction. Colby's ultimate goal was to get Unkle Adams to join the original posting group, and to finally embrace his fans. After a year of trying to persuade Unc to change his ways though, little progress was made. And that's when Colby dropped the Emperor Penguin diss track out of nowhere.
It's the dude you gave the original hat to, who tried to do something different than add you to the group. Had the haters listening, that's true. I was bridging the gap, making this in a taboo. I set it up, then you flipped on the whole thing, ditched us, then went back to pitiful boasting. Man, most of your posts are a little bit generic, you could use some original posting.
Even outside the context of corny white rapper internet beef, Emperor Penguin is one hell of a diss track. There are some genuinely really clever lines in it, like, I'm a latter-day saint, about to go a former-day saint, take a lamb to the slaughter. Jesus, this is up there with No Vaseline or The Story of a Didon. Now how do you think Unkle Adams responded to Colby's magnum opus of a diss track? Unkle Adams made a pretty long and rambling video complaining about Colby, calling him a stan, and telling everyone that he's messing with someone way, way above his caliber as a rapper.
look how many different ways you are trying to attach your pathetic rap career to mine. And it's not working because people just realize that you're a desperate loser, and also you're going to get obliterated. You're stepping into the ring with somebody who is just so far above your skill level that it's...
Based on everything Unk is saying here, you would assume that his response track probably destroyed Colby, right?
Please stop acting like you're any more than a dude who wanna hack. Because you're not. Wearing my merch, you're a bitter ex-fan, mad that you didn't.
Unfortunately, Unk's response to diss track was pretty lackluster. He pretty much just called Colby a little weird Mormon boy who's a bitter ex-fan. This track was really disappointing. Unkle Adams likes to talk big about how he used to be an acclaimed battle rapper when he was younger, but you sure wouldn't guess that based on this track. Maybe he used to overly rely on profanity, which probably is the case considering how vulgar his lyrics used to be, but he really can't seem to form a cohesive argument without devolving into immature name-calling. Regardless of the quality of Unk's response, seeing him respond at all was a huge win, and from here on out, Unkle Adams seemed to open up a little more to his fans. This caused his fan base to grow, and in the near future, Unk would soon find new opportunities because of this. In early 2020, Dorian Electra, one of the most popular artists in the hyperpop genre, retweeted a mashup of 100 gecs and Unkle Adams. In the months after, Dorian and Unkle Adams would be seen interacting with each other on various social media platforms. In the original posting group, Merlin Sinclair, childhood friend and video producer for Unk, said that a collab might be in the works. This was confirmed by Unkle Adams on June 23, 2020. This was a huge deal. This would be Unk's first collaboration with a major artist. It could be the start of a new high point in his career. A clip of the collab was posted on SoundCloud. It was a remix of the Dorian Electra song Gentleman, complete with an Unk verse, and honestly, it was pretty good. Unk definitely delivered on this one. But this snippet is all we would get from this collaboration. In August 2020, a month after the remix snippet was posted, Unkle Adams would post 2 tweets with him face-swapped on a Lil Uzi Vert and Lil Baby. He was immediately hit with harsh criticism both on Twitter and the original posting group. Unkle Adams apologized soon after, but he also decided to tweet a complaint about the whole situation to Elon Musk and Kevin Hart for some reason. Shortly after this whole fiasco, both Unk and Dorian would delete pretty much everything that had to do with them collaborating, and that was the end of that. Now, a lot of people in original postings speculated that Dorian dropped the collab because of the face swap incident, but I don't think that's actually the whole story. Shortly before the collab was dropped, people were tweeting at Dorian about Unk's dark past, sending him the song Hey Bundle of Sticks in particular. Dorian Electra identifies as non-binary and is gender fluid, so it makes a lot of sense they might stop a collab after seeing this. Unfortunately, this is pretty much where the Unkle Adams story ends. After the death of his biggest opportunity, Unk took a break from social media for the rest of the year. He came back in 2021 and did some videos explaining and reacting to his most popular songs, released an NFT collection, and he also released the song Who the Man Now, which was an attempt at hyperpop. It's not a great song, but he did record it at home with his own equipment, and you know what? It sounds fine. It's not badly produced. It's pretty sad that it took Unk this long to actually do an entire song on his own without spending hundreds of dollars at a studio. But at least he did eventually learn that lesson. Shortly after this song though, Unk would pretty much disappear altogether. He hasn't posted anything new publicly since July 2022. Okay, that was a lot, and I didn't even go over everything. I didn't talk about James Alsop, TJAC, the Spite live streams, the Lower Tour, JC Wild, or Demi Larner. There's a lot to the Unkle Adams story, but if I could sum it up with just one statement, it would be that hustle culture doesn't work. If you watch the At Least a Million mission, it's pretty clear that Unk pays a lot of attention to self-help gurus. He even mentions Gary Vee by name in one of the episodes. Hustle culture influencers love to promote the idea that all success is attained purely by working hard and having the right mindset. But at the end of the day, hard work is just a fraction of what decides whether or not you're successful. People like Gary Vee or Tony Robbins neglect to mention that a very large percentage of successful people were either born into money or a well-connected family. While you can lift yourself up by your bootstraps and become a success even if you weren't born into it, the people that do this make up only a small percentage of famous and successful people. But self-help bros want to make it seem like anyone can become a millionaire despite their life circumstances because it helps them sell to you. If these influencers showed only reasonable paths to success, their only clientele will be already wealthy people who have lots of time to dedicate to personal projects, and those people don't need Gary Vee telling them to quit their 9-to-5 to start their own business. At the end of the day, Unkle Adams is a middle-class gangster from Regina. That alone stacks the odds against him as a rapper. You'd be surprised just how many famous musicians come from high society in one way or another. In fact, I actually do know someone personally who made it as a worldwide kind of famous musician. And you know what? They themselves came from a wealthy and well-connected family. Their brother is a successful TV and Broadway actor. I don't think it's a coincidence. Hey guys, Future Feral here. Pardon the interruption. I know this is the part of the video where I normally start wrapping things up, but before we get to that, I just wanted to go over something kind of quickly. So, while I was making this video, I actually did reach out to Unkle Adams for an interview or really just to get his side of things, right? I feel like if you're making a video about someone, it's only ethical to give them a chance to respond. But Unkle Adams unfortunately did not take that chance, so I've instead taken it upon myself to tell his side of things for him in this section that I'm calling Uncle's Advocate. So we've got a couple things to go over. I'll try to make it relatively quick. So point number one to advocate for Unkle Adams. Unkle Adams is not a bad rapper. Now, what do I mean by that? I think there's a tendency to conflate Unkle Adams with like a clueless SoundCloud rapper turning on the microphone for the first time. I don't think that's really fair. I think Unk sometimes makes bad music, but I don't think he's bad as a rapper, right? He's experienced. He makes well-produced music. Even when he produces his music himself, it still sounds pretty good. He has a sense of musical timing. He has a good sense of musical pitch. Jared Robinson, Unk's producer, he did an AMA in the original posting group a couple years back, and he said that Unk is actually one of his favorite rappers to produce because he's just kind of good at what he does. He comes to the studio prepared, and when he raps, he's good at it. He doesn't have to edit his vocals very much because he's just kind of good at rapping. So I think we could at least give Unkle Adams a little bit of credit for being an experienced rapper. He sometimes makes bad music, but at least he's professional. And that kind of brings me to my next point. Unkle Adams had an actual career rapping and public speaking before Original dropped. I think a lot of people in the Original posting group assume that Unk's ironic internet fame massively outweighs whatever career he had previously as a rapper / public speaker. But I don't think that's actually true. In fact, I think it might actually be the opposite. I Am Stronger on YouTube to this day still has way more views than Original does. I think that really says a lot. And in the very first episode of the At Least a Million mission, Unk says that he has 18,000 monthly listeners on Spotify. And I think that really adds an important bit of context to the At Least a Million mission. If Unk was throwing away everything in his life to pursue rap music starting from nothing, I think that would be a lot worse than the reality, which is, he was coming from something. He had 18,000 monthly Spotify listeners. If I had 18,000 monthly Spotify listeners, I would also probably invest some money into my career too. I probably wouldn't go into hundreds of thousands of dollars of debt, but I would probably invest some money as well, yeah. All right, point number 3. I think Unkle Adams gets overly criticized for many things. I think with these kind of like lolcow figures on the internet, there's a tendency to assume that every decision they make is wrong, or at least there's something wrong with every decision they make. And Unkle Adams is no exception to that rule. I think probably the most egregious example of this would be the face swap incident. There were a lot of people saying that Unkle Adams was doing digital blackface by face swapping with a black rapper, which feels like a really immature thing to say. Blackface is a really serious thing, and to say that face swapping with a black guy is digital blackface, it just feels like you're downplaying the severity of blackface. I really doubt that Unkle Adams meant to be racist when he was face swapping with rappers. I'm pretty sure he just looks up to those guys and he wants to be like them. And remember when I said that he responded to a tweet tagging Elon Musk and Kevin Hart? Well, the tweet he was responding to was a tweet by the FaceSwap app, right? The company that makes the app he was using. And it was Elon Musk's face on Kevin Hart's body. So basically exactly what Unk did. And no one had a problem with that. But when Unk did it, it was digital blackface. So yeah, I think that's the biggest example of Unc being unfairly criticized for something, but there have been many other minor examples as well. I remember when he was doing that video reviewing memes of himself, there were a lot of people in original posting who were complaining that he was only reviewing positive memes about himself. And like, come on, he was trying, you know? Like, give the guy some credit. He knows nothing about these internet communities. He was trying. So yeah, I think while Unkle Adams has made a lot of bad decisions, he sometimes gets unfairly criticized for some things. Point number 4. Unkle Adams is genuinely charismatic, very funny, and also a very good speaker. You know, there are parts of the Elisa Millie mission where Unc talks non-stop for like 10 minutes. That's crazy. I can't do that. I can go for like 1 or 2 minutes tops before my brain just completely gets overloaded and I have to take a second to think about what I'm saying. But Unc can really go for a long time. And I think he's pretty captivating when he speaks too. I think there was a reason why these schools kept hiring him. And I also think he's very funny. Whether it's intentional or not, Unkle Adams is a really funny guy. You know, when I was editing the part where he was talking about going back to work and driving the truck, and his manager was getting mad at him for driving the truck wrong, and he was imitating his manager, like, I was cracking up every single time. Like, Unc is a funny guy. Sometimes it's not intentional, but I really do think he's a very funny guy. And he wouldn't be memed so hard if he wasn't funny. Alright, so my final point is that Unkle Adams was rightfully wary of the original posting group. So in episode 10 of the Elisa Millie mission, Unkle Adams talks about how he's blocked all comments on all his social medias in an effort to basically banish people from original posting from his fan base. That seems pretty harsh, but in the same episode, Unkle Adams talks about just how much he was being harassed by people from the original posting group, right? He was receiving physical death threats in the mail. His phone number was being called nonstop. They were saying some very unsavory things to his girlfriend. It was so bad that they even went and filed a police report because of it. And you know what? I actually do believe it was bad. There's thousands of people in the original posting group. I have no doubt that there's a few bad apples out of those thousands of people. And that's not a theory either. There were at one point some really bad people in the original posting group. So one of the things I mentioned when I was talking about the things I didn't bring up in this video was the lore tour. The Lore Tour was a group of guys from the original posting group who went to Regina in Saskatchewan to tour the famous Unkle Adams spots, right? Like the places from his music videos, the places from the Elisa Millie mission. Innocent sounding, albeit kind of weird, but it wasn't actually that innocent because these same guys were straight up stalking Unkle Adams. They were following him around in public, they were taking pictures of him, they were following him home, like actual straight up stalking. Totally illegal, totally unethical. When this was discovered, these guys were banned from the original posting group, obviously. But you know what? If I was being stalked by people, I wouldn't be very eager to support whatever group they were coming from. So I think we have to give Unc some credit for that. I'm honestly impressed that he embraced original posting at all. And you know what? After you're done watching this video, if you go on Unkle Adams' YouTube channel and write a mean comment, or you go and tag him in a tweet and you write something mean about him, I just want you to know that not only have you got the raw message from my video, I also think that you are a coward. It's so easy to judge someone when you're behind a screen, and it's really hard to make music, and it's hard to make content online. You know, I make music myself, and there have been so many times where I've written a song that I thought was super cool and really good, but then when I went to record it, it ended up sounding really corny. It's just hard to make music, but it's really easy to judge other people who make music, and that's just something to keep in mind. I think that's about it for advocating for Unkle Adams, but there was one thing that I wanted to talk about as well. I actually didn't even realize I left this out of my video until now, but what is the origin of the name Unkle Adams? Well, my friends, this is actually quite interesting. You see, Unkle Adams has a nephew that is older than he is. It's a very strange but true phenomenon, but hear me out. So Unkle Adams has a much older sibling who had a kid before he was born, and therefore he's an uncle. And you know what? He's homies with his nephew, and that's the kind of shit you gotta show respect to. Okay, let's get to the outro. Like I said earlier, Unc hasn't posted anything since 2022. But you know what? I don't think we've seen the last of Unkle Adams. If you've been following the story, you'll know that Unc quit rapping when he was 20 because he got sick of it, only to return to music 6 years later as a changed person. Who's to say he won't come back with something completely different someday in the future? But till that day comes, I'm Ferrin McGuire, and thanks for watching.
First off, I'm thankful for everyone that follows me and everyone that doubted me can swallow their apology. I'm the kind of character that's written in mythology, living in the present day, it's in my biology. Rap about equality and rock